Hello, what's up everybody? My name is Chris, and today in this video I want to talk to you about the YouTube of podcasting companies, or essentially free hosting for your podcast so that you can launch your podcast, and not just one podcast. Actually, you can launch multiple podcasts on this platform without having to pay a single cent. And it has a bit of a twist in comparison to other platforms that offer a similar service. Now, the service that I'm talking about is called RedCircle, and you can check it out with a link in the description below. This video is not sponsored by them, and actually, they don't even have an affiliate system as of today making this video. If that changes in the future, the link in the description may change to be an affiliate link, but as of right now, I just want to tell about this service because I love being able to host a project like your podcast completely for free to start with. Now, the main reason I love a free podcasting service is because whenever you want to start a podcast, it means you have so many things that you have to take into consideration. Now, there are tons of things like equipment. You have to get to know a program or even purchase a program. Even if you go for the semi-open source solution like Ultrashell combined with Reaper, that also costs a small investment. And then, of course, microphones, audio recorders, and so on and so forth. So it is amazing that there is now a podcast hosting solution online that lets you host your shows with unlimited episodes, with unlimited downloads, completely for free. Now, hosting a podcast for free is always a bit of a tricky subject matter because if you don't pay for it, who or what is the product? Now, in the case of RedCircle, I think that it is pretty clear what their intentions are. However, I still want to talk about this problem. Now, generally speaking, when you are using something for free like Instagram, Facebook, or the likes, then you are not really the customer. The customer are the people that actually pay for the advertisement. So the advertisers are the customers, and you as the person using the service become the product. With hosting companies for podcasts, this is a bit of a tricky thing because, of course, they're not really supposed to put advertising in between your shows or into your shows without your acknowledgement. But on the other hand, they do have to make money somehow. And for that, RedCircle has a solution that they are proposing on the website, and I will talk about that in just a moment. Now, of course, there are tons of other podcast hosting platforms out there, some of which you have to pay for, some of which actually charge based on the number of downloads you get or the number of podcasts you're hosting there. And some podcast hosting companies actually also offer you the service of hosting unlimited podcasts and unlimited episodes on their platform. For example, in the past, I have used Transistor, also Castos, and also Podbean, all of which have been used by me or my clients, and I am somewhat happy with all of them. However, right now, if I were to recommend you one podcasting platform, it absolutely hands down would be RedCircle, and I'm actually in the process of transferring other podcasts that I work with to this platform as well. Now you might wonder, what about Anchor.fm? And in that case, I actually have to say I used it, I tried it, and the one thing that I don't like about that platform, or actually there are two things. One is the massive focus on the app-first interface, which is something that I just can't get my head around, mainly because I am a person that wants to be productive. And for me, a phone is absolutely not productive. It is for those mini use cases where it's on the go, but it's not the production tool for a podcast. And I use my computer for those things. And so I want to be able to manage and administrate multiple podcasts with one interface. That is something that I've been requesting for Anchor.fm. However, they have not moved on that front at all. And so RedCircle just went ahead, made all of that happen with the ability to actually manage multiple podcasts with the exact same login, have a team of people also helping you with the administration, and just be able to manage all of your podcasts in one place with one login. And that's actually one real cool feature. Now, the other problem with Anchor.fm is that their ownership is not quite clear, or at least they had a moment where the usage licensing basically wasn't quite clear who actually owns the podcast episodes. Is it you as the podcast host, or is it the platform? Now, this specific problem might no longer exist in the usage agreement of the platform. However, at the end of the day, it's already a platform that is owned by Spotify. So in a way, you may actually be boxed in or locked in at some point to be able to just be available on Spotify. They have incentives to do that. And with that, it's not as open as usual podcasting hosting should be. Because at the end of the day, what makes podcasting great is that you can move to whatever host you want at any given moment. You can even host your own podcast on your own website if you were to set all of that up. And with that, the whole concept of podcasting is an incredibly open standard, and that is something that I would prefer if it actually would exist further, so that you can also subscribe to shows which are actually not even listed on something like Spotify or iTunes, and you still can use the methods of subscription, and actually all that would work just wonderfully. Now, how does RedCircle actually work, and what are the features that they are offering? Now, first and foremost, again, this is of course a podcast hosting platform. So they are actually there for you as a podcaster. However, they are also a brand that works with advertisers. And in that way, they are kind of like YouTube. However, their approach is slightly different and in my opinion, actually a little bit better than the one that YouTube chose to go with, at least for the purpose of specifically podcasts and those kind of shows. And that is, of course, the reason why you see that it is for podcasters, and then they have a section for brands and agencies. Now, this platform has to make money somehow, and if they're hosting your show for free, they will have to find other avenues of making an income. However, they are choosing ways that are actually benefiting you as the podcast host as well, in a way where basically RedCircle only makes an income if you also make an income. And that is done through means, for example, they have the implementation of a donation feature. You can have subscriptions so that people can subscribe to your podcast and basically get an inside scoop or support the show, and they will take a cut of that. And they also have a platform where you can basically get to know other podcasters and cross-reference or cross-promote each other's show in your own podcast so that you can actually grow together. And then last but not least, they also have a feature which is basically finding sponsors for your podcast, and again, they will take a cut out of those deals. Now, I want to just go through those features quickly. This here is the RedCircle Ad Platform, basically the AdSense of RedCircle, and as you can see, you can advertise on your own terms, basically meaning that you will get a script. There's goals, there's timelines, and of course also the payment that you are going to be discussing with the people that are advertising in your show. And then you can actually put those advertisements into your show. And RedCircle also has the feature that these advertisements actually are worked into your episodes after the fact. So basically you just sell RedCircle where the advertising breaks are supposed to be. And then if you have a sponsor, they can actually choose to be part of certain episodes or all of your episodes at the sponsor mark. And that actually is quite revolutionary because it means that these advertisements can be exchanged individually and dynamically. Now, current deals and probably the deals going forward for many podcasters are usually done in a way that you advertise in a podcast episode, and that sponsorship read just stays in that episode forever. So the person paying for that advertising slot gets the advertising for as long as the episode is live, and when someone downloads this episode in 10 years, it's still the same advertising read. Now here with this platform, it's slightly different because these reads or these places in your episodes can be set up so that the advertising actually can be dynamically shifted. This again is a bit of a comparison worth to YouTube, where you can actually adjust where the advertisings or the mid-roll ads should be placed, and then YouTube will put an advertising there if it makes sense for that person that is currently watching the show or watching the video, or also if there is available advertising that can go into that slot. So in that case, you will have to kind of work with your episodes to not have an obvious break, but at the same time do have one, but maybe there is a sponsor or not a sponsor. So you have to work with that. But I think it's a genius way to be able to advertise on your podcast and replace those advertising slots dynamically. Now, the other feature they have is the cross-promotion marketplace. And this is actually so that you and other podcast hosts can basically team up so that you both basically talk to each other and then agree on a way of advertising for each other on your podcast, be it in the beginning or at the end. Usually, this makes most sense if your podcasts are somewhat related in terms of the category, or at least they make sense combined. And in that way, you then can start growing your podcast together with other podcast hosts in a partnership And basically, you're exchanging the sponsored reads for growth. And that is also, I think, quite powerful. But now let's talk about the direct payments that subscribers of your show can do basically to you individually. In this case, RedCircle actually offers a subscription model so that people can actually subscribe to your specific podcast for a monthly payment, and in that case also get access to exclusive content. Now, this can be really powerful because, for example, you could have somehow of an after-hour podcast which then includes more information or more clips, and you publish 1 episode or 2 episodes more per month for the exclusive club. But on the other hand, it's also just simply a somewhat Patreon-like system where people can support your show with their dollars, and that means that they get to hear your episodes. And most people nowadays understand that there is work that needs to go into the production of these podcast episodes. So this is a possible route that you can take for your show. Now again, RedCircle will pretty much take a cut of all of these different deals, the sponsorship, the subscriptions, and so on. But we will talk about that after we have talked about donations. Now, donations are kind of similar to the subscription model, but in this case, the user decides if they want to do a one-time or a recurrent donation. And with that, they actually also, or you actually can set up rewards that people can get based on the amount that they are donating. Now, this can be, again, somewhat of a similar idea, basically saying that this is a patronage to support the creation of your podcast so that people can reach out to you and financially support the creation of your show. Then, of course, we also have the hosting and the distribution of your podcast, but this is a part that is pretty much normal for a podcast hosting platform. But as I've mentioned, you can actually manage all of your content in one place. Basically, you can have multiple podcasts with all kinds of episodes, and you can host as many as you want. I personally currently have about 3 or 4 podcasts hosted on RedCircle just for my own personal use. And of course, that does not even include the client podcast that I'm also working with. This is something that is really powerful because it makes it super easy to manage your podcasts in one place with one login without the need to sign up to all kinds of different accounts and store passwords and all those kind of things. Then, of course, you also can distribute your podcast, and this goes, of course, for Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the usual places. And they also offer YouTube uploads so that your show also can be produced or made into video form by the platform here and then uploaded to YouTube. And then, of course, you also have statistics so that you know what is happening and going on with your show. This can be somewhat informative. However, we all know that podcast statistics are a bit of a tricky subject, and nowadays it might actually make more sense and you get more in-depth information when you go directly into the platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcast and you look into those statistics there because they have more information ready to go. However, that's also a topic that is more and more opening up with standardization and application, sending more statistics to those hosting companies. So RedCircle is incorporating those things, and I think that that is quite powerful. Last but not least, and before we talk about the specifics of the pricing of this platform, RedCircle also offers RedCircle Studios, and this is if you are looking for an enterprise use case, basically. They are offering editing, production, equipment, branding strategy, and all kinds of things. And of course, they also do the ad sales. And I think that that is quite powerful. I think one example show that I know that is on this platform is, for one, the Matt and Pete show, which you can see right here above my picture here, so right there. And then I also know that the Jocko podcast by Jocko Willink is also hosted on RedCircle. Now, this here, of course, is for the premium user, the enterprise user that wants to have everything done for them, and they know that they have a powerful podcast that needs production, and of course also may have the funds to actually produce that show with an enterprise-like service like RedCircle Studios. But now let's finish off with the pricing of the platform, and of course here is the interesting part, and that is what I like about this platform so much, because they are giving you the free hosting of unlimited podcast episodes and episodes of multiple shows on the same platform. However, they have a pricing model which is transparent to the user. And that is something that I really like, because they are basically giving you an all-in-one solution. And with these different things like the sponsorships, the subscriptions, the donations, and of course also the cross-promotion platform, they are giving you tools that you can use as a podcaster, and you can start growing right from the smallest possible podcast with 0 listeners all the way to millions of downloads. And I think that that's really powerful. Of course, you don't even need to use any of those other services like the advertising platform or the subscriptions. However, you might actually find it really useful, and specifically with something like the advertising deals. Of course, you can do your own advertising deals, but why not use this platform additionally to see what kind of deals come through so that you know if you want to take those, and if you take that, of course, it makes sense to share a little bit of the profits with the platform that brought you that deal. And getting that deal is much better than not having it at all. But now let's look at the percentages that they are offering. Basically, you have the hosting for free. I've discussed that and I really like that. Then we have the donations, and in that case, RedCircle takes about 4.5%. I think that that's pretty fair and really comparable to pretty much any other platform that does similar offers. And of course, much better than, for example, YouTube itself, which are paying or taking about 30% off your pay cut when you are getting those members on YouTube. Then we have subscriptions. In this case, they're keeping 12%, and that is mostly related probably for the extra episodes that you can host for those members. So that's something there. And then we have the host Red ads, which are the ads that you can put into your podcast, and they have a platform to basically match up you with the sponsors. And here they are keeping 30% of the ad spend. And then they have programmatic ads, which you can also activate on your show. And those are kind of the same concept as the YouTube ads are. When you have those mid-roll ads activated, you basically tell it where those ads can be placed. And then if you are in that group of people that have those programmatic ads activated on your podcast, then there can be an advertising, but it does not have to be there. Overall, what I really like about this setup here is that they are taking percentages whenever you are getting a percentage of anything, which means it is a shared effort to actually make your podcast successful. RedCircle has an interest in your show going up in the ranks and becoming successful. And I think that that is a really, really cool concept. Now, with all of that positiveness, if you don't find this useful and you want to move away, of course, that's also possible with the appropriate redirects that are also offered by RedCircle. And all of that pretty much makes this a no-brainer. You have the offering of no hosting fees for multiple podcasts, unlimited episodes, and downloads. You also have the advertising platform, the cross-promotion platform, and the subscriptions or donations, which are also really, really cool to have those availabilities or those possibilities. Now, if you'd like to check out the service RedCircle, you can do that in the description down below. Again, as of right now, it's not even an affiliate link. It's not a sponsored video, even though I am just gushing of positive energy about the service. But I wanted you to know about this because I think this is, as of right now, pretty much the best podcast hosting platform on the market. Now, if you found this video helpful, interesting, or entertaining, I would appreciate a thumbs up or a super thanks. And of course, I hope to see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.